Okay.
All right.
We're good to go.
Yep.
All right,
So when you're ready.
good luck. Draw for turn.
Yep.
Clock. Draw two.
Sorry, we started.
Plays Asa.
Okay,
Alrighty.
cool.
So we're just getting straight into this one. Sorry about the little tech issues there, but we're just gonna kick things right off, and we are looking at ZNT and wait, what is? Huh?
That is
What am I
the
looking-
Idolm ster.
Oh, this is Idolm ster. I was looking at the blue 0/0 and thinking, hold on, this card was banned, wasn't it?
Yeah. So side trivia fact, that card is one of the reasons that we don't call the Akatsuki effect Azusa, at least not universally, is because Azusa had 3 different level zeros powerful at the time, and this just happens to be one of them. And having 3 different level zeros of the same character, which were all good, a lot of people just decided it wasn't appropriate to call one card after that character's name. Anyway, moving on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cancel.
So this is I mean, Idolm ster is actually had quite a few sets out already at this time, didn't it?
Yeah, I believe it did. So there's only the first Idolm Daily Stars, which is the Nintendo DS game, which has surprisingly now well-known voice actresses such as Kanahana and Haruka Tomata.
Stand draw.
But sorry, let's go back into some Weiss Schwarz instead of.
Yeah, I
voice
definitely
actress
know
tidbits.
exactly what you're talking about, mate. Good. But yeah, this is look. I mean, I can talk about ZNT until the cows come home. What do you know about Idolm ster and how they build these decks?
I don't actually know what the popular builds of Idolm sters were at the time, but I do have access to them.
And on play,
It
I can
looks
give a
like
character-
PlayerAndy right here is playing Door Stockcell build. The door on just an empty door, but the Stockcell is I Want. It's a pretty well-known climax for us Weiss Schwarz boomers, but it combos on a 1/0
yeah.
So it combos on a 1/0 4K that gains 1/5 every time an opponent's character rests, and on attack, if you have the combo, you can pay 1 and salvage a character and rest all of your opponent's standing characters. So sometimes it does struggle a bit on offense, but back then it was quite hard to get past a character which was at least vanilla power on the first attack and then 7k on the next one. So I think PlayerAndy would be trying to get multiple of his level 1 combo right on the board so he can defend better against ZNT's 117Ks.
And of course, ZNT, another quintessential heal looping deck. I mean, this is a you want to talk about heal looping? It's heal. This is it right here. You play your gates, you play 8 level 3s that all say heal on them. You play free refreshes. I mean, I know plenty about this deck because I played it myself. But it's been a while, and we're seeing already some of the staple cards on the board. That blue Eleanor with that incredible support ability, giving you those plus 1000s. Just incredible card.
Currently 2-5 pre-run, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's definitely a key card in the deck. It's a global 1k as to all of your characters with Louise in their name, but only on your opponent's turn. Has no other text, but back in the day, just having 1k power over your opponent is pretty powerful. And that let you maintain your board a lot better than certain other decks. So I think this is ZNT in its prime, and we should be seeing a lot of that card in action during this game.
Absolutely. You can't really play ZNT without playing this Eleanor. And of course, part of the reason that this card was so good was because of one of the nuances of Weiss Schwarz as a game. Whenever you have cards that target specific character names or names, usually the term I think translated. I don't speak Japanese, but as far as I understand, the translation was if the name includes X, then you'd be able to get the buff. And there is a 1/0, which is definitely not the character that was probably intended to be buffed by this card. It's a 1/0 yellow 5k, but it happens to have the Louise name in it, which means it does get this additional buff from from the support, which, I mean, we're talking about 107Ks on defense. That's pretty significant stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely a really, 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 really good card. We do see that, unfortunately, ZNT here missing the ideal level. Getting that at level 1 is always great. So of course the early play for ZNT has a level requirement. So you have to have specific cards in your level. I believe it's a 2/1 level support, a yellow one, which
Yeah,
was
that's
just
right.
that's the one. And unfortunately didn't manage to quite get that. Had to level instead one of those 3/2 healers just to fill things up. And we do see coming out of Idolm ster that Haruka that is just, you know, such an enormous power play card. And we're going to be seeing hopefully the climax come out in conjunction with that to try and close things out here on this board and gain a little bit of board advantage. At least on defense, but certainly getting that salvage. One of the first really true level 1 advantage engines, I guess.
4/5.
Yeah, I believe so. It definitely saw a bit of play even after Idolm ster was in its prime, just due to how potent the card was. But yeah, I was a bit worried that when Hadsu leveled up here, PlayerAndy might not be able to get his level 1s on the board effectively there. But because Hadsu leveled with a yellow character, he didn't get his 117Ks. So PlayerAndy did have a moment to get that online. However, looks like he miscalculated Hatsu's power lines and ended up trading that. That's going to hurt a bit. He's not going to be able to use that card to defend his board. So he will need to find a point later in the game where he can gain control of the board again.
We do see a counter coming out to protect that 1/0, I believe that was. So the 1/0, of course, having a little brainstorm effect as well, giving you a pretty decent way to clean things out of your stock, but also it just pluses a bunch of power, keeps things around, and opting to pay out to keep that Haruka on the board. Interesting play.
Yeah, an offensive pay 3 encore at this point of the game is pretty high risk, high reward, I would say. Obviously, if the character survives, well, then yeah, you avoid a direct attack, you get to keep your character, your opponent's character doesn't live. It's a very good use of your 3 stock. But on the other hand, if it just gets knocked down, well, then you paid 3 stock to basically just take 1 less damage. And you know, at this point of the game, you don't really want to do that. So,
and
yes.
Down comes a quintessential, absolutely fantastic core strategy of ZNT and really just of the time. Big number.
Yeah, it's a 117K and has no tax. So yeah, here's another WS boom effect, but there was a time where 1/1s actually were just 6K and had a... But Bushery decided that having
6K. Oh man,
having 1 stock character is only 500 power more than 1/0 was pretty bad. So they decided that, you know, they should remove the soul trigger, and now they're 1K higher, and all of a sudden they're so much stronger, and people play them in meta decks like this.
I mean, stronger in this one very specific build, and we see one of the other strengths, of course, of 09 Tsukaima is that that climax lineup, the 8-gate lineup, 8-gate privilege, was a huge thing back in the day. You could play a deck that had 8 gates. You didn't get anti-salvaged. You just, every time you hit one of those, you were plussing off it. You used, it went into your stock, and you were still able to use it for an advantage later on. It was just an absolutely crushing deck to come against for sure, especially if you weren't prepared for it. I refuse to say comeback trigger, as the chat is requesting. You know, it's definitely a gate trigger.
You can tell this guy hasn't played WS for a bit.
This is yeah, it's gate trigger, and then they came out with pants trigger. That's it. There's no there's no comeback trigger. I don't know what this means. And we're getting to see some interesting choices in Idolm ster. Of course, this is an event. Oh, I haven't seen this card for such a long time.
Here we are. It's BK Mania.
Yeah.
It has a picture of, I believe that's one of the company presidents, and I don't actually know who played this version of the game before, but it's a 1-1 event. You can choose one of your characters and pump it with by 3k, and then you optionally can put the top card of your deck into your clock, and if you do, you salvage a character. So it's 1 stock, 1 clock if you use the full effect, and you pump a character and gain a hand. So if that 3k does influence the board, so you get to win a lane, it's kind of a 1 card for 2 sort of play. Which
and I mean, it also goes to memory as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does go to memory, which again, I think this time is a good one. You don't really want to hit yourself too many BK Maniac here.
They're 4-5.
So yeah, no, it's definitely another one of those. Like I believe this one actually came out in Idolm ster 2, which is the 3rd Idolm ster set, because Idolm ster doesn't make sense, or they just had so many sets. Like even back then, I think in 2012 there were 3, maybe I want to say there were actually 4 Idolm ster sets out. I think it was 3 or 4. I mean, there really were a lot. I mean, this stuff was popular. These guys, they knew how to make money. If there's one thing, oh yeah.
Idolm ster is still going strong, having released shiny colors in a different branch in the same game. So yeah, it's a pretty long partnership with Bushroad. I think Idolm ster actually got very big in 2011 or 12 with the TV animation. So it's been around in WS since before it was the biggest thing.
And thanks to Tarina in the chat, 4 sets including the anime set by the time this was happening. So thank you for that. And we are seeing the double 1-0 reds on the board, but mate, this board from Zero no Tsukaima is just looking absolutely brutal, and we're seeing all of those red climaxes lined up. And 4 cards left in deck, still at level 1. Jeez, I mean, and the triple Eleanor. Wow. This is huge.
Yeah. Having a strong board and not taking direct attacks in an age where slamming was a bit of a risk. Although given that PlayerAndy here was not able to use this level 1 combo, I think that definitely paid off in his strong refresh here. He didn't need to take as much damage as a deck which concedes his board, so yeah, it's a pretty good play here.
11,000 for 1.
Just some really huge amounts of grindy advantage coming out right now. Just, you know, ZNT, we know that this is 3 clean stock coming straight off the top, refreshing with 8 climaxes, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in clock. We're looking at, I think that was 6 cards in hand as well. Did get the counter out to get rid of the Louise 1/1, but I mean, this is if you want to be refreshing, this is how you want to be refreshing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crushing stuff right now.
Absolutely.
So Idolm ster really in an uphill battle.
Yeah, it's pretty rough here. Gosh, I just keep coming up with weird Weiss Schwarz boomer trivia, but Idolm ster is actually the first set with a 2-1 stock swap, and being on level 2, if he did have it in his hand, PlayerAndy would be in a really good position to use that stock swap to make Hadsu's deck a lot thicker and put all those non-climaxes back. However, sadly, and naturally for this time period, actually, he does not play the stock swap, so that won't be happening right now for the remainder of this game.
Yeah, we do know what's in these deck lists, so we have a little bit of insider info. A brainstorm there, hitting the 1, managing to get a little bit of advantage to try and claw this one back. But again, look, ZNT, one of the really crushing things about ZNT was just the fact that if it got ahead, it had no obligation to try and finish the game because it just knew that it could sit there on these enormous boards and just wait and wait and wait and wait. And eventually your opponent would just run out of resources. And you'd slowly get there with 2 damage this turn, 2 damage the next turn. And you would just get there. The inevitability of this deck was one of the best. I mean, it was, if there was something that this deck was great at, it was winning 1 games. And right now we're looking at a bit of a rough spot for Idolm ster for sure. So, and coming out with level 0s and level 1s at level 2 with only 2 stock, I mean, this isn't really where you want to be.
No, but on the other hand, Hadsu's board is momentarily not that strong. The middle lane is, I don't believe that card actually has Louis' name itself, so it's just a very measly 1k power. While for level 1, the Brainstorm is going to be a bit difficult to get rid of, the direct attack lane is definitely something you can take advantage of. And the other interesting thing here is that Hadsu has not fulfilled his experience condition for the early play. So he won't be healing as much as he would in another game. And if PlayerAndy does get some damage in right here, he might be able to capitalize on that and keep pushing Hadsu, at least until level 3, where he has a bit of an option to come back.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a hell of a swing if he does manage to pull that together. Like we said, he did whiff the 1-1 and the 2-1 going into the level zone. So, it's, you know, those 3-2s, the 3-2 yellow, which we do actually see in his level zone right now, it's just going to be a vanilla 3-2 heal.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it will still be a 3-2 heal. On the upside, though, it does mean that this level 2 is going to be significantly weaker for the ZNT player. With that said, 8 climaxes going back in. It's a deck that has a free refresh. I mean, it could get kind of spicy here. So we'll see what he manages to do. And you know, it does manage to get the level 1 in. I think maybe there was a way to swap levels from like the first ZNT set off the top of my head, but no one played. I certainly didn't play it when I played this deck.
I'm not too knowledgeable on the rest of the set, but at the very least I can say Hadsu playing that card, so we won't have to worry about some tricky shenanigans happening from the zone this game.
No, I mean, most of the stuff from the first ZNT set doesn't really make it into the main build. The second set was really where it all happened, where all of that good stuff, all the heals, all the changes, all the free refreshes, and I think even all the gate. Oh no, sorry, you got one of the gates in the first set, and you got the other one in the second set.
Well, it is the set that prompted Kantai to have all anti-whatever tools, so...
This is true, yeah. This is true. You know, the game really changed after Kantai came out. But having a look at this game in front of us right now, we are seeing Idolm ster getting ready to potentially be on the on the back end of some other big hits.
Yeah.
A search coming out, just that pay 1, ditch 1 shooter. Searching, I mean, really can just start setting up for level 3 at this point, can't he?
It's pretty free to do whatever he likes. I think Hadsu has been using his level 1 Brainstorm to pump its soul power here, though. Which, given that PlayerAndy, is in a pretty uncomfortable position given his resource. Using the additional resources that Hadsu has himself to push down PlayerAndy even further is probably going to be beneficial for him, especially given that, as we said earlier, he won't be able to use all that stock for healing at level 2. He can use it instead to just play the resource game, and by the time they both hit level 3, Hatsu's ideally going to be ahead in his game plan.
Right, and I mean, what's Idolm ster going to be trying to do at level 3 to bring this back?
So it looks like he's playing. So he's playing 4 copies of the Mickey, which you can early play. Pretty rare for back at the time. If you have 2 copies of the 1/1 green event in your memory, which is a 2/5 event counter, but I believe one of them is in his level, and he's also on 2/6 right now, so it's pretty unlikely he's going to be early playing that. And he also has another heal, which has an additional ability where you can pay 1 and rest 2 characters to, and send another event, which is not played in the deck, to give itself to heal 1 more. But again, that's going to be a 3/2 10k vanilla heal. And finally, we have a card which has come into play. You can pay 1 additional, burn 1. So it's going to look pretty similar from both players. They're both just going to heal with 10ks when they hit level 3. Except PlayerAndy does have the option, if he draws into it, to pay 1 and burn 1 additional with the level 3 Arca. I don't think that turn's going to be this turn or maybe the next turn, but we'll see if that ever comes out.
Damn, is that what we call a finisher back in 2012?
I guess so, yeah.
It's about as good as we can get. And here we are just getting just the level 2 coming out.
Yeah, that's the 2/1 Airy. It's AK and it gains 500 for each other character you have at during your opponent's turn, I believe. Yeah, that's right. It's a very, I don't know, old school kind of effect. It's pretty good back then. Right now, you'd probably play some other stuff, but it is a hard.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers on the cards really mattered, didn't they? You know, you had to look at all four corners of the card.
Yeah.
And that included the text box. I guess 4 corners plus the text box actually mattered a little bit more. You had to worry about that number on the bottom left quite a fair bit, because that was hand advantage back then. Was just if your card had a bigger number than their card.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely true. If you don't have cards that say gain a card in hand, well, you have to gain a card by not. This actually does still kind of apply to today, but there's a lot of other ways to play the game. Where back then this was not necessarily the only, but the main way to play.
And does manage to get that salvage off the top to pick up another one of those 10k heals, which is going to be a way to stay in the game. But we are looking at, just those cancels coming out from that hyper compressed ZNT deck, just making things really quite difficult. We're looking at ZNT getting pushed a little bit, a double soul trigger off the top, but another cancel again. And I mean, 2-2 to 3-0. It's this is usually the situation that you want to be in for ZNT, but like you said earlier, no early play means contesting this 10k is actually pretty much impossible unless you want to just Hail Mary that brainstorm.
Yeah, Hadsu does have 5 climaxes, and it looks about 7 or 8 cards in deck. So I think he could very easily guess how many climaxes he can hit off 1 or 2 brainstorms here. And if he wants to, really contest that level 3, he does have the option to.
I mean, it's part of the reason that you play the card. In addition to that little glitch in the programming, I guess, in that it does have the name Louise, it is just a really big beater, and it can randomly get up to some very, very big numbers, plus 3,000 for every climax that you hit off the top, and it's spammable as well. So with all that stock, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stock for ZNT right now. I mean, losing 2 of those to get rid of a 3/2 may not even be the worst play.
Right, but
we'll see. He instead chooses the the brainstorm.
Yeah.
And gets to
a brainstorm for 4, and for each hit you can salvage. You can bring a cost 0 character from your waiting room onto your stage. So if he does want to use both effects, he is going to have to play over a character on his board. And he chooses to play over itself with another copy of the level 1 here.
Interesting line. Do you think he's going to go for the free fresh?
Yeah, I think so. That seems like the most most sensible reason to brainstorm that. It obviously wasn't going to give him anything of particularly high value, even if he did hit the brainstorm. So I think that would be the play. And
I gotta say, I'm a little surprised that he opted to use the Louise brainstorm instead of just using the Saito brainstorm and try and get a bit of power on the board. That
is interesting. As I said earlier, I don't think there's anything in the waiting room that particularly warranted being reanimated, so I'm a bit curious as to what the idea was there. Maybe it was kind of just a silly play which came out of playing at, 2:25 a.m. local time. But,
yeah, definitely could be. It is a little bit late over here.
Yeah.
Or early.
Alright. I just missed a little bit there, but the Ritz-Core Brainstorm on PlayerAndy's board does have the effect where if his opponent hits a Brainstorm, he can optionally draw one and discard one. In Weiss Schwarz terms, don't worry about it. But yeah, he did use.
You can loot one. Shout outs to the MTG boys in the chat, all 0 of you.
Yeah, and discovered BK Maniac, which is definitely a probably less important card in his hand than potentially anything else he could have. So I guess the looting helped in one way or another. And Hadsu is using his free rip deck. You can you can salvage a character and then shuffle your waiver back in your deck. And it also has an encore step change into the card he just salvaged, which is a 3 to 10k heal and combo on one of the doors in his deck where it gains 3k and reanimates a Saito, which isn't playing. So it's basically just slam a door to gain 3k. But right here, Hadsu looks like he's probably just going to go into the heal 2. Well, heal.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that right now. And he's taking the safest play possible. And putting that level 2 in the middle, guaranteeing that heal is going to come out, and those Eleanors are going to then buff it up to be a base 12,000, which is, I mean, it's some impressive stuff. A nice little cancel coming out here on that Soul Trigger, and ZNT just saying, look how much stock I have. Look how big my defense is. Hits the raw gate, but of course that does nothing. Idolm Master does manage to come out with some nice little cancels here. However, the Louise heal comes out onto the board, and we're looking at a 12k center slot with could be. Well, I mean, we didn't see exactly. Could have drawn them, but probably 6 or 7 climaxes still left in the deck. I mean, it's scary stuff.
If PlayerAndy wants to out that card in the middle, I believe quite early in the game we saw level 0 support with 500 to front and CIP give 500 on levels. So if he does find that card, he would be able to pump one of his characters to 12k if he decides to leave the support in the front, or even 12.5 if he wants to put it in the back. Including that level. There is an out here if he so desires, but sadly Idolm Master doesn't have Search or Summon, at least not in this deck, and he's playing a Draw Brainstorm, so it's not going to be easy. And yeah, it does look like he's just going to opt to chump that lane and make the most of the direct attacks that he's got in this turn.
Right, and this is kind of the weakness of ZNT can be the fact that you can run out of cards just a little bit when you start getting into the late game. We're starting to see that. A lot of stock, but only 4 cards in hand. So we'll see if Idolm Master is able to put just enough pressure on and grind out, and none of these gate triggers manage to pop up, then, it could be one of these situations where, yes, you cancel everything, you have plenty of stock, but you just have no cards to play. And here comes a big swing into an open lane, a bit of a Hail Mary. We see the climax. And look, just this compression is pretty marvelous stuff. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Blocks everything out, ready to go. Super comfortable clocking here. I mean, we're really getting to the point where it's getting a little bit rough, and decides to actually clock a counter. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess it does make sense. Assuming that both players are looking at each other's decks, Hadsu does know that what his opponent's lines are, and given that he is level 3, didn't get contested last turn, it's pretty acceptable that he believes that his opponent's just not going to be able to fight it anyway, as long as he has not even in the back row, just sorry, 2 elementals on the board. And so yeah, it makes sense that he would clock away a character that he can't use to attack, or he can but isn't effective at attacking and pushing damage.
So I was looking at that that event there, but sorry, it looks like he didn't actually end up playing it, and decided to just go for some raw brainstorming. Oh wow, look at that, empty on the top 8. Here we go. We're gonna hit them here, aren't we? There's the first one. Only one gets up to 7k. 7k. Sorry, 8k.
8k. Yeah. Which is
how many cards left in deck? I think I know what's coming. Or do I? Maybe not. This was looking like a triple brainstorm into free refresh, into change, the whole kit and caboodle. But it looks like just waiting for his opponent to resolve some of his own effects first.
The great thing here for Hadsu is that even if he chooses not to use another brainstorm and go down to, he can just attack it 3 times. And if he triggers, then he gets his hand back, which we said earlier he's not exactly abundant on. And if he doesn't trigger, well, then he gets to cancel. So it really goes well either way when you're playing plussing triggers at 8 copies like this, which is why 8 doors was such a valuable thing there.
Yep, that's that 8-gate privilege.
Yeah. All right, so a little bit of mishap here. PlayerAndy was meant to discard before he takes it, but we're not too stressed about small things like that here, so
that's fine. Yeah, no big deal. And out comes the this little salvage event, which was one of the greatest ways to gain advantage back in the day. A little 2-1, you brainstorm 3 off the top, you salvage 1 naturally, and if you hit a climax, you get to salvage again. A 2-1, getting that +2. This is that advantage engine that Hadsu needed for sure. And look, it's a 2-1 free fresh. I don't think anyone's too surprised by that, and pulls up the 3-2 yellow heal as well. I mean, this is again just a massive play.
Yeah.
It's pretty standard stuff, but when it works, it works pretty bloody well. Just going through. And it looks like he singled out that counter for a little bit. Maybe that's the card that he's thinking of getting back with this free refresh. Pays the 1, and we'll see what he decides to take. Oh, he's gone past the counter. Or maybe he's just looking at the rest of his discard pile. Let's see. I mean, I figured it would have been, just takes another free refresh. Okay.
All right. So it looks like Mr. Hadsu here is just planning to do the same turn over and over, and grind his opponent out until he out heals him, I guess.
And this does say to me, I think that he's sitting on a I didn't see exactly which gate triggers he had in his discard pile, but I think he must be sitting on the +3k or the combo with the red 3-2. Based on the way that his board is set up right now.
Yeah, if he does have it here, it would be very powerful. He lets his Louise go to 14k, which at least forces a costed counter out of that Mickey lane, while the now buffed Saito will be able to contest the 2-1. So yeah, it just continually pushes PlayerAndy's hand down and reinforces that position that he's in.
And overplays with the level support. Oh wow, this is a pretty huge clincher. I'd say really locking down the board state here. A little bit of shuffling around. Let's see. Surely that Saito goes on the end. It's just having a think about it. How much does he value that brainstorm is really the question.
It's difficult to say, but given that we can see that Hadsu is on now, and it does look like he wants to use the change effect on his 2-1, he's kind of going into that stage of the game where resource advantage is not of utmost importance. He wants to limit his opponent's options, but he himself kind of just knows what he wants to do, knows what he can save. So I think he's quite comfortable with using his level 1 to make the opponent use the card to save his own character.
Flip-flopping back and forth a little bit, deciding where this level is going to go. And there we go. That's the that is the climax combo one, I think.
Yeah,
I never played foils, so
yeah, it's I'm also not a foiler, so it does throw me off every now and then, but that's the right one.
Yeah, no, this is definitely it. And hitting a gate trigger off the top as well for even more hand advantage, and then just coming in with some big numbers for this turn, managing to reverse the Idolm ster 3-2. Another 4 damage straight into the dome, and it sticks. Ooh. Wow. And a nice clean 2 coming in. This could be... Ooh, and... the cancel. Wow.
Right.
Chat has commented that I keep saying gate. They don't see any gates in Hadsu's deck. Okay. I'm not sure if this is a meme. I will explain this one more time. Back in the good old days, we used to say gate triggers on the red ones. Comeback triggers, door triggers. I think that started being a thing a little bit later. But I always said
the blue gate/pants trigger became a thing.
I always
usually
call it
I'm
pants.
actually quite I'm usually also kind of nitpicky on this gate stuff, but just for the day, seeing as we're playing 2012 where the alternative doesn't actually exist, I think we can just say that we're emulating an olden age.
There we go. Red gate, blue gate, 1 gate, 2 gate. Exactly correct. Gate is for boomers and door is for zoomers. And comeback is, well, I mean, it's for Kumas, if we're being honest. And now we're looking at the double 3-2 heals coming out straight into the attack. This is, it's a bit of a Hail Mary, and huge counter coming out here. Oh, that was an enormous one. I don't think that was expected at all. Being able to deal with that, that was definitely definitely not something that was expected. But I'm not sure it's going to make too much of a difference, to be honest. It's oh man, definitely a crippling counterplay for sure.
Yeah, if Hadsu is, he's 3 damage away from winning the game. So if he slams a climax here, those would be pretty terrifying. And there is that door.
Bang! The 3/3/3 coming out. This is some spooky stuff for sure. 3 comes out, looking at a 40, 15, something like that, and straight off the top, all 3. That's it. Well played. Undoubtedly a very tough matchup, but we are seeing just the incredible power of ZNT, even without that early play heal, ending the game still at level 2. Just really just powerful stuff. The amount of advantage that this deck can generate sometimes, and the wall that it can put up, can really just be totally unbreakable. And Idolm ster is not a pushover deck by any means. Really a powerful part of the meta back in the day. Definitely was a deck that we saw fairly often. It was popular as a title, and it was popular as a deck that people wanted to play because it was good. And I mean, you had the people like me who I didn't watch the shows, I didn't play the games, but I still picked decks that were just really, really solid, and Idolm ster was definitely one of them.